Bonjour from Paris. Are you planning a trip to Paris or to France anytime soon? Because if you are, you're definitely gonna fall in love with the beauty, the culture, the food, tout ce qu'il y a, everything there is. But there are some mistakes you need to make sure not to do because French people and Parisians, on va te regarder, we're gonna look at you. So today we're gonna go and talk about those. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gabrielle. I am from Lyon and I've been living in Paris for 2.5 years. I absolutely love this city. I usually share about Paris neighborhoods and also mon nouvel appartement, my new apartment in Paris, which is right here, which I'm in the furnishing process and decorating. There's a whole other Paris series for that. But today, aujourd'hui, on va parler de l'étiquette française, the French etiquette. Donc, allons-y! I'm gonna be speaking about 4 pillars, 4 piliers aujourd'hui that will help us see the different sections of l'étiquette française, of French etiquette, starting with everyday interactions, les interactions de tous les jours. Second, we have the service culture, so le service et la culture autour de ça. Third, we have one of my favorites, dining etiquette, because la table est sacrée. The table is sacred et manger est sacré. And fourth, we have dress and personal presentation. These are my opinions as a French person and as someone that's lived in Paris and has noticed many things. Obviously, there is a lot more and it really depends on the person and the area, but these are general rules that will help your trip to Paris or to France be as smooth and as local as possible. So what Parisians and French people mostly expect from you, and Mei, what she expects as well, is human interactions are super important, even if it's for a short period of time. Meaning that the initial interaction, l'interaction initiale est très importante, is very important. So, tu dois toujours dire bonjour ou bonsoir. And quand tu pars, when you leave, you always have to say au revoir. Or if it's someone that you see quite often, like in a boulangerie, you will say à bientôt or bonne journée, have a good day. Honestly, I think if you do this, you eliminate 80% of rude interactions that French people have with tourists and with people that don't come from France. Also, another hack, another tip is that if you want to ask for something specifically, tu voulais par exemple un produit spécifique, you wanted a specific product, you don't just ask, bonjour, do you have this? Bonjour, est-ce que je peux avoir? No. The hack is to actually leave like a 2-second breather or a 1-second breather. And so you go in and you say, bonjour, pause. Est-ce que vous avez? Do you have? That's much more smoother and much more polite. If you just come in, bonjour, est-ce que vous avez ça? It sounds like a demand and French people don't appreciate that. Also, it's very nice and it's encouraged to put bonjour monsieur, bonjour madame. You want to put that after your bonjour. For us French people, les Français, we really value human interaction even if it's for a short period of time. You can call someone bonjour madame, bonjour monsieur, but it's definitely not encouraged to call someone by their name because sometimes they have a name tag. And one time I saw someone in a store in Galerie Lafayette call the woman by her name and she was not happy at all. Elle était pas très contente because in France, you usually call someone by their name if there's someone close to you, si c'est un de tes proches. Mais normalement, tu vas pas juste l'appeler par son nom. Also, with interactions and being in public spaces, I would say lower the volume because I think it depends on each country how loud we speak, si on parle fort ou si on parle moins fort. Mais en France, dans des lieux publics, we usually speak relatively more quiet than other countries. Having previously lived en Chine, in China, les gens parlent assez fort, and from the experiences I've had of some American tourists coming to Paris, French people tend to say ils parlent trop fort, they speak a bit too loud. So I would say pay attention to your volume and also pay attention to what you do. Bien sûr, Paris est une très grande ville. Paris is a very big city, so there's all types of people and there can be exceptions, but most of the time French people on parle pas si fort que ça. Another thing is at Paris, we tend to always try to help out people in a very quick manner because everyone is in a rush. Tout le monde est pressé, everyone is in a rush. So for example, même quand tu sors du métro, when you exit the metro, while you exit, you have the door and you leave it open so that the person behind you can also just push it and continue. So it's to help out the person behind you. And a lot of people do this. And honestly, if someone does it for you, always say merci. In general, you always need to say merci when someone helps you out. Same thing pour les escalators, for the escalators, make sure that you're waiting on the right side, côté droit de l'escalator, because the number of people I've seen always stand in between, and then I hear a Parisian be like so exasperated, so annoyed. So c'est important d'être au côté droit. I love how I started as a service and then now I'm going into transportation because il y a plein de règles, there's so many like hidden rules. Donc c'est intéressant de voir ça. Don't assume the customer is king because it's not always the case, and as I mentioned, we really value asking things in a polite way rather than saying, do you have, or you have this. You'll always ask nicely after the greeting, est-ce que vous avez, do you have, like asking a question, because in France we really value like everyone's work, le travail de chacun, and so it's really important to be able to talk to them like you would to anyone, they're not just an employee. Tout le monde est sa personne, everyone is their person. And it probably relates to the fact that there's also no service fee, is that you need to be kind to people no matter what job they do. I would say soyez patient, be patient, soyez gentil et compréhensif, be kind and be comprehensive. Also, don't snap your fingers, because I've seen this dans des brasseries, I've seen this in brasserie. Don't snap your fingers and don't wave. Like I've also seen this in grocery stores. Always come up to the person and ask them directly. There is no snapping and there is no waving en France. It's not unknown that not every French person's English is very good, but I would say most French people really try. So when you are in doubt if someone actually speaks English, it would be really useful to ask them right away, parlez-vous anglais? Do you speak English? Because you can't assume that someone speaks English, because when you speak to them in English and if it so happens that they don't, ça va être pas très respectueux, it will not be super respectful. So, faut toujours demander, you can always ask, and if they say yes, then obviously you can switch back to English. If you accidentally bump into someone or you want to walk through, it would be super useful to know pardon. Obviously, these are all like very simple French words, but I feel like as people progress dans leur français, in their French, or just French people in general, we kind of forget that these simple things, we need to actually employ them and we need to actually use them. So if you do something wrong, if you bump into something, if you want to like pass through a line, like if there's a long line and you want to go through the other side, you can just say pardon. And now pour le service, for the service culture, c'est très important d'être formel d'abord. First formal and familiar after. So formality first and familiarity after. So we always want to use vous instead of tu, because vous is with people we don't know, and it's also with elder people, and it shows a sign of respect, while tu is most of the time with people we know and we directly use tu with. You want to start in French, even if it's just one phrase. You want to start with bonjour, est-ce que je peux? Excusez-moi. Even if you're not fluent in French, it's always good to start en français. Tone is everything. Le ton de la voix. As I was saying, we don't want to be too loud, we don't want to speak too silently, but we want to have a good tone, like a good friendly tone, because if you say things in an exasperated tone, you're probably going to receive that service en retour, in return. You want to make eye contact. I know that not everyone makes eye contact, mais c'est très important. Another interesting thing is en France, don't expect smiles, le sourire upon arrival. In France, we have what we call the neutral face. So usually in shops or workers in general, we all have the neutral face, just because they're not smiley. Like, we always tell me that que je souris beaucoup, that I smile a lot. I also think it's because I wasn't raised here my whole life and because I naturally like to smile a lot. But most of the people, just because they have a straight neutral face doesn't mean they're cold or rude. It's just the way they are. Don't take it as a sign of disrespect or that they're unfriendly. It's called le visage neutre, the neutral face. I don't know if it actually exists, but I consider it to be a neutral face. Never interrupt a conversation. Ne coupez jamais une conversation. So it can be even in a mall, even between employees, or if it's like between the manager and the employee. Tu ne veux pas interrompre. You don't want to interrupt. So you're gonna wait before you ask for something. I don't know if it's like this in your country or if any of these are like this in your country, but in France they seem like very obvious, very logical. But I think it's always good to go over the basics because it makes us extra prepared for our trip and also to meet avec d'autres Français, to meet with other French people. Be clear, not chatty. It's not that French people don't like to do so much small talk, but I feel like everything that's service related or for something or you're asking for something, be very clear. Like, don't over chat it or don't try to go and talk about something else and then go back to the question. Just ask the question, obviously after you've been formal and said hello to them. And of course, gratitude goes a long way. So, saying merci beaucoup or merci pour votre temps, thank you for your time, or merci pour votre explication. This is really important dans la culture française. Tu dois être reconnaissant. You need to really be understanding about all this time and this effort this person has put for you, or if they're teaching you something or if they're showing you something. Make sure to say merci beaucoup. And lastly et dernièrement, c'est comment s'habiller, how to dress à Paris ou en France. Honestly, there are no concrete rules, il n'y a pas des règles, and this could actually be a whole entire video apart. If you would be interested in me making a video about style and how to style yourself, tell me in the comments because I would love to make a video about that too. But the general rules, les règles générales, are to dress smartly, even casually. So even if it's a casual day, try to dress smart. So what do I mean by that? Qu'est-ce que je veux dire? So obviously, tu veux être confortable, you want to be comfortable, but also you don't want to dress like you just came from the gym. Pas de survêtements, no sweatpants, et pas de vêtements de sport. Because I think in a lot of countries, maybe people like being in sweatpants, yoga pants, and like walking around like that. À Paris, pas vraiment, not really. Obviously, if you're going to do sports, si tu vas faire du sport, then it's required to wear sportswear. But I would say even in casual settings, dans un peu la vie de tous les jours, most French people, we don't wear sweatpants. So even to go pour les courses, to go grocery shopping, just wear something that's like comfortable, wear cotton, wear linen, just wear a t-shirt, just something that's comfortable, but it doesn't have to be sweatpants. And I know that les Français, we have the cliche of being always dressed elegantly. Honestly, there are a few tips and hacks to dress that way. If you want me to tell you those tips and hacks, I could make an entire video about that. Je pourrais faire une vidéo sur ça. Dis-moi dans les commentaires, let me know in the comments because that would be interesting also to share my tips and hacks. But the general ones, I would say that in autumn and winter, something that elevates an outfit automatically, c'est une écharpe. Une écharpe is a scarf. Honestly, you can't go wrong whether it's for les hommes ou les femmes, for it's men or female. You just wear a scarf and your outfit, ta tenue feels very well put together. Aussi, no flip-flops, pas de flip-flops. On porte pas trop ça. In France, we don't really wear flip-flops, especially to go to settings like le restaurant. It's very, very unrecommended. I would say don't do that. Ne fais pas ça. Just wear, comfortable sneakers. They can even be white sneakers or basic sneakers. Can go with any outfit because Parisians, on est toujours pressé. We're always in a hurry and we're always walking somewhere, going someplace. So just wear normal sneakers. But Pas de flip-flop, no flip-flop. That les Parisiens et les Français, like Parisians, we like clothes that fit well. I would say even la coupe avant la mode, which means fit over fashion. So instead of having like really high luxury branded things that are very tight, we would rather see you wear an outfit that's like tailored to you and that looks comfortable and that fits well. It can be very casual, like it can be kind of like a shirt like I'm wearing, or it can even be like a t-shirt, but try to avoid things that are overly loose, trop large, or overly tight, trop serré. That layering, le superposer, est essentiel. It's quite essential because honestly, it makes any outfit look very well put together. Et t'as pas besoin de beaucoup d'effort. And honestly, in winter, I would say layering is everything. Perhaps I can do another video about style and fashion perhaps later. But now, nous allons manger. We're gonna go to my favorite part, which is eating, the dining etiquette. Allons-y. Et maintenant, dining in Paris and France isn't just about food, it's also about les petites gestures, the little gestures, because us locals, French people, we notice even the smallest things and the smallest gestures. An important thing when you first arrive at the restaurant, au restaurant, is you want to wait to be seated, because I see it happen all the time. People just come in and sit. Les serveurs, the waiters are not the happiest. So I would say wait to be seated. And if you want to know a simple French phrase, you can just say when they come, une table pour deux ou une table pour un, s'il vous plaît. Obviously, you want to always start with bonjour, as I mentioned, and then you wait to be seated. Also, dans des brasseries or des restaurants français, don't rush to get the menu. Wait until it is given to you, qu'on te le donne. Don't ever say garçon, because I've heard this as well, and I don't know which French books taught you garçon or still teach garçon, because French people, we don't say that. If you see the waiter, you can say excusez-moi, excuse me, la carte s'il vous plaît, the menu please. Or you can just make like discreet eye contact and just like slightly like put up your hand in a very subtle way, and then they'll understand that you're calling them or that tu veux le menu. Très important pour les boissons, for the drinks. Okay, this is a mug, but normally it should be a wine glass or just a regular glass, is wait until everyone is served, que tout le monde soit servi before you do santé with everyone. And I would say le plus important, the most important when you do santé with everyone, c'est le contact des yeux. So eye contact, you absolutely have to look at people when you do cheers en France, because it's a sign of respect. And if you don't do it, it's disrespectful. I know that in some cultures it's the opposite. Like in Asia, I remember if you look someone like sturdily in the eyes, it's not always very respectful. Mais en France, it is very très important. Plus, apparently, there are stories that you'll have a very bad love life for a long time if you don't look at people in the eyes quand tu dis santé. Also very obvious, but wine is sipped very slowly pendant le repas, during the meal. So really like take your time. I know that some people just chug it, but on n'est pas dans un bar, we're not in a bar, so we take our time and we enjoy the meal. And the cliché about French meals, être très très long, being very long, is not a cliché. Me personally, when I go to brunch or lunches with friends, it's very often 2-3 heures, 2-3 hours, and I know it can go on for much longer in family gathering. Vraiment, prends ton temps, take your time. Et maintenant pour le pain, for bread, which bread is sacred. For bread, it really accompanies the meal. Ça accompagne le repas. So it's not something that like you eat directly and you have it as an appetizer. No, it really accompanies the meal, and it can accompany le plat, the main dish, and also les fromages. If you want me to do a video about les fromages, I know I've mentioned it before, let me know in the comments, parce que j'aime beaucoup parler du fromage et de la gastronomie française. I really like talking about cheese and also like French gastronomy in general, but that would need sa propre vidéo video, it would need its own video. So vraiment pour le pain, it should be something that's accompanying the meal, and also it should be placed on the side of the plate, au côté, because I see a lot of people put it like directly on top. Normalement, on le met au côté, and so really, you use it when you need to eat it. Un truc marrant que j'ai vu, something funny that I see, I don't know if you've ever seen anyone do it, unless you're in a place that serves food and that gets very messy easily, but the napkin that you have on the table, en France, toujours ça va sur les genoux. It always goes on your lap. And I've seen some people do it before where they put it like directly on their collar. And I would do this, I guess, as a child, as many children do, but I don't think adults en France, on fait pas ça. Unless if it's for something that is really dirty. For example, I've seen it in seafood restaurants, but en France, très très rarement, very very rarely. And you want to pace yourself, because I know that some people are very fast eaters. Ils finissent tout, they finish everything, and then they have to wait for the others. But I would say in France, it's really like a conversation, Tu parles, tu manges, tu bois, you speak, you eat, you drink, and you really take your time with everything. Tu prends ton temps. Mais honnêtement, ça dépend avec qui t'es. It depends who you're with. Perhaps they eat a bit quicker. I'm talking mostly about brasseries, bistros, and restaurants, which is a place that people take their time in. Mais si tu vas dans un fast food, but if you go to a fast food place pour le fast food, that's different. À la fin du repas, at the end of the meal, obviously, on a un petit café, which is often l'espresso. But there's something that I mentioned on my Instagram before that's called le café gourmand, which is one of my favorite things. I personally love le thé gourmand because I love tea. And it's actually essentially this espresso pour le café gourmand, or this tea, le thé gourmand, that comes with a bunch of small desserts that the brasserie or the restaurant makes. And me, that is very indecisive with desserts and sweets parce que j'adore ça, I love that. I always have a hard time to think, which one should I get? So I opt for thé gourmand. And if you want to know these fun facts and these fun tips about living in Paris, go ahead and follow my Instagram, because I'm going to be putting more stuff there, not just French expressions. Le dessert, which can come either before or after le café, or if it's le café gourmand, thé gourmand, then it is your dessert. But pour le dessert, I would say that if, for example, you don't want to have a dessert, but the other person wants to have a dessert, then obviously you're going to accompany them, because you're not going to want to rush the other person. Ce serait dommage, it would be a shame, and it would be pas très respectueux. So for sure, if they want a dessert and you don't pressure them not to, and accompany them until la fin du repas, until the end of the meal. En France, when you're finished with your meal, you put your fork and your knife on the plate, like side by side, sideways, and c'est pour montrer que t'as terminé. It's to show that you finished. Let me know in your country, how do you show that you finished your meal, or is it the same? And another thing is, on met pas complètement les coudes comme ça. We try not to put elbows like this. Here we're going a little bit more into etiquette, which, I think it depends on the person, but we don't want to put our elbows completely. Like we always say that ideally you have your hands above the table, because it's disrespectful to have your hands below the table. This is dated depuis les Moyen Âge, since the Middle Ages, because obviously it was to hide if you were hiding a dagger or something, but it's not the case. But now you want to put your hands au-dessus de la table, above the table, but not like too much elbow. So just like this is perfectly fine. And si c'est une grande table, if it's a big table with a lot of people, then you're not gonna want to take too much space. Juste comme ça va très bien. I feel like that could be a whole other video about like mannerisms and etiquette on certain topics. Like, for example, I quickly went over the dining etiquette just now, mais je sais que ça pourrait être une vidéo toute seule. It could be a video on its own. But for now, these are general rules, and pretty good rules for you to know, especially with these different circumstances and different places when you come to Paris or you come to France, où tu veux préparer ton voyage, you want to prepare your trip, or just because you're curious, parce que t'es curieux. Moi, personnellement, je vis à Paris. I personally live in Paris and I love showing the hidden gems of each neighborhood. But I'm also interested in French etiquette, and that's why I thought it would be interesting to talk about it this time, as well as a sneak peek de mon appartement, which the next video is gonna be about my Paris apartment series that I've just moved in. If you haven't seen all the other videos, I'm gonna link it here as well. I'm so excited because next week, je ne serai pas à Paris. I'm gonna be somewhere special. You can check out Instagram to know where I'll be. And there are so many cool Paris neighborhood topics coming up. J'ai trop hâte. I can't wait. But for now, je vous dis merci beaucoup et à bientôt!